The session after the meal and retreat 2, the first evening, is a really critical session to set up some theological understandings that will carry forward into the next morning in the retreat of silence for each participant. And we're trying to help each of the participants begin to listen to their life in a whole. Now, one of the things our experience tells us is that everyone's generally pretty good at listening to their life from the negative perspective. They are able to see their own sins pretty powerfully and specifically. They're able to own and hold on to the past painful experiences they've had, whether they're their own sins or sins committed against them, their losses or their disappointments or their fears. They hold on to those pretty tightly. And when people engage with the Lord, they sometimes struggle to experience all that God has for them and begin to see the delight God has for who they are and how He made them. And we need to be able to be people, as we listen to our lives, who can see both sides, who can see the positive things in our life without pride and begin to see some of the things that God has been doing already that He loves and He made us specifically for. And sometimes that requires a little bit of theological shift and framework, especially for those of us who've grown up in an evangelical American context, where we really emphasize our sin and really emphasize that the gospel is all about being forgiven and getting from being an enemy of His into becoming a son or daughter of His. Now, that's true in the gospel, but it may not be the entirety of the gospel. So we want to help people understand what to do with those negative things in their life, but also the positive things in their life, and integrate them as a whole as they listen to what God's doing in their life. So that evening, there's a little talk. In the next video, you're going to see an example, a very shortened version of that. And then after that talk, we move right into a Lectio Divina of the passage Psalm 139, 1 through 17, where people end the evening reflecting on the reality that they're fearfully and wonderfully made, that they're known by God, that they're made on purpose by God with all of their personality, all their uniqueness. That's something deliberate that God's done. But one of the things they reflect on also in that passage is, even if they've fled from the Lord, if they in their sin have turned their back on God, there's nowhere that they've gone that God doesn't both see them and pursue them. If I go to the other side of the sea, God is there. If I go to the depths, God is there. And we want to see happen is in our positive way that we're formed and made, and in the negative ways that we've interacted with the Lord and others, God is big enough and loving enough and powerful enough to see us, pursue us, and take joy over us. So we don't say that out loud. We don't make that explicit. We're not teaching that material specifically, but we're setting the environment for them to hear from the Holy Spirit. And that's one of the things that I want you to hold on to as a cohort leader, and those of you who are mentors, is this is an opportunity to let the Holy Spirit lead each participant into the truth that that person needs to hold on to in that retreat about listening. As they listen to the Lord, is God convicting them? Saying, hey, I want you to move away from that behavior or away from that thing that's killing your life or killing your relationships? Or is the Lord saying to them, I know what you've done and I know you're sorry, and I want you to hold on to and receive my forgiveness and stop living in shame and guilt anymore? Or maybe the Lord's wanting to heal a past relationship and say, hey, I know that happened, but I was there when that was going on and I can heal it and it's not your fault, especially as they process pains or abuse or abandonments in their life. Or maybe the Lord is trying to help someone see something God delights in them, that He's proud of them, that He knows that they're giving their best to His service as a parent or as a doctor or as a lawyer or as a pastor. We want to let the Holy Spirit lead each participant in what the Spirit wants to do in their life. So we're setting them up to listen to the full gamut of what God might be doing in that evening session. But it's an important time. So as you move into that, it's really important for you as cohort leaders to be praying for your participants. Lead your mentors into prayer before the retreat starts. And recognize that this session in the first evening is one of the most critical elements of the whole time.